Me personally, although I love these guys and like to see them, I like to have my alone time too. For the first little while, I'll spend quite a bit of time unpacking, and so that'll take up all my time. And so I won't have a lot of time to chit-chat like we have in the past.
I don't like it. You need to be closer to the family.
I didn't pick this house purposely because it was mild.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't, but we just got to fix this, that's all.
The cameras have stopped rolling, but the drama surrounding TLC's sister wives is far from over. For more than a decade, viewers believed they were watching an unconventional but loving family simply trying to make plural marriage work. Yet behind the carefully edited scenes, fractures were forming that no amount of reality TV sparkle could hide. Now Meri Brown, the original wife who helped launch the entire Brown family story, has broken her silence, and her words are as direct as they are revealing. In a recent sit-down with journalists Amy Robach and TJ Holmes, Meri made it clear that her relationship with Christine Brown is not just strained, it is over. "There's just too much water under the bridge," she said with quiet finality. "Christine and I are not friends, and we won't be." Meri's statement hit fans like a thunderclap because it confirmed what longtime viewers had only guessed: the tension between these two women runs far deeper than any television edit ever captured. Yet what surprised many listeners even more was Meri's calm delivery. Given every opportunity to sling mud or offer biting remarks, she refused. Instead, she spoke with measured honesty, explaining that while she holds no hatred for Christine, she simply no longer chooses to have her in her life. "It's not healthy, and it's not safe for me emotionally," she explained, a phrase that signals years of private hurt and broken trust. For an audience accustomed to dramatic confrontations, Meri's steady tone made her message even more powerful. This opening revelation sets the stage for a story that is less about on-camera feuds and more about the quiet, unseen struggles of two women whose lives were bound together by faith, family, and a complex marriage. Part 1 of this journey explores how Meri's candid remarks expose the hidden cracks in the sister wives' household and challenge the cheerful narrative that Christine has long presented to the public. What startled many longtime viewers wasn't only what Meri Brown said, it was how she said it. In a reality TV world built on explosive confessions and dramatic clashes, Meri's quiet restraint felt almost radical. She had every chance to throw verbal punches, yet she spoke with a kind of weary clarity that made her words cut even deeper. "On my part, there's no hate," she explained evenly. "I just don't choose to have her in my life. It's not healthy, and it's not safe for me emotionally." That single word, unsafe, echoed louder than any shouted accusation. It hinted at years of unspoken conflicts and an emotional minefield that outsiders could barely imagine. Christine Brown, of course, has cultivated a very different public image. In interviews and in her best-selling memoir, she often appears as the upbeat survivor, the wife who finally broke free from an oppressive marriage to Cody Brown and found her own independence. Fans adore her cheerful confidence and quick wit, but Meri's perspective paints a far more complicated picture. According to Meri, Christine can be charming and warm in public while quietly sharp and dismissive in private. Christine herself has admitted that, in the past, she teased Meri about having only one child and even said she hoped Meri would never get pregnant again. What many fans saw as playful banter, Meri experienced as cruelty that slowly eroded any possibility of real friendship. This contrast between the public Christine and the private Christine is at the heart of Meri's decision to walk away. Meri has always owned her own flaws. She can be blunt, even prickly, and she freely admits it. But she values emotional honesty and the hard, sometimes uncomfortable conversations that build true connection. Christine, by her own account, prefers to smooth things over, to keep everything light and positive even when serious issues demand confrontation. Over time, that difference in approach became a chasm. For Meri, a relationship without depth or accountability simply isn't a relationship worth maintaining, and no amount of television editing or fan enthusiasm could bridge that gap. Beneath the surface of their fractured friendship lies an even deeper story about faith, identity, and survival inside a plural marriage. Meri revealed that while she once shared the fundamentalist beliefs that shaped the Brown family, her convictions slowly shifted. She stopped feeling bound by the strict religious framework that had drawn her and Cody together in the first place. As Meri quietly stepped away from those teachings, she sensed that some family members, especially Cody, began to view her as an outsider. In her eyes, their fear was clear that her independence might infect the rest of the household. Yet Meri stayed, honoring her commitment to the family she had helped create, even as she no longer shared their faith. It was a sacrifice that viewers rarely saw, but one that weighed on her for years. Life under constant camera scrutiny only intensified the strain. Meri's willingness to discuss personal struggles, including the widely publicized catfishing scandal, meant she often appeared on screen more than her sister wives. Some resented that visibility, interpreting it as attention-seeking, when in truth Meri was simply honest enough to show the messy parts of her life. Christine and Janelle were wrestling with their own crises of faith during those same years, but mistrust and long-standing hurt kept them from confiding in Meri. Instead of finding solidarity in shared doubts, the women retreated into separate emotional corners, allowing resentment to harden into silence. Looking back, Meri also questions the speed and structure of her marriage itself. She and Cody wed after only 6 months of knowing each other, a whirlwind that left little room to understand how profoundly different their personalities were. Meri craved order and clear boundaries, while polygamy demanded constant compromise and a fluid household that respected almost no boundaries at all. Even the infamous house divided into 3 apartments was Meri's attempt at survival, a way to maintain privacy and stability amid the chaos of plural marriage. Despite everything, Meri has emerged with remarkable self-awareness. She spoke about learning healthier ways to process anger, even laughing about how she sometimes screamed in the car just to release tension. She refuses to read Christine's book, not from spite, but to avoid reigniting old pain or dismissing Christine's perspective. 2 people can share an event and see it completely differently, she reflected, and that's okay. For Meri, peace means accepting those differences and walking away from relationships that threaten her emotional safety. In the end, Meri Brown's calm honesty disrupts the simple hero versus villain narrative that has dominated Sister Wives fandom. She isn't bitter, nor is Christine entirely blameless. They are 2 women shaped by years of shared history who have chosen very different paths to healing. Meri's final boundary, choosing distance over performance, may be the healthiest decision she has ever made. And in speaking her truth, she offers fans a powerful lesson. Sometimes the bravest act is not reconciliation, but letting go. Long before Meri's recent interview, subtle signs of strain flickered across Sister Wives like shadows on the wall. Back in 1990, when Meri and Cody Brown married after only 6 months of courtship, they seemed united in their dream of a bustling plural household. Christine entered the picture years later, joining a family already learning to balance jealousy, shared responsibilities, and the relentless demands of communal life. The early seasons of the show captured big milestones, new babies, cross-country moves, and their dramatic relocation to Las Vegas, but what cameras often missed were the small moments of friction, clipped comments, tight smiles, and lingering silences during group conversations. Fans would later scour those episodes for clues, pointing to quick side glances or a quiet eye roll as evidence of a deeper divide. By the mid-2010s, cracks widened. Meri's emotional distance from Cody became impossible to ignore, and Christine's own dissatisfaction with the marriage surfaced in subtle ways. Even casual viewers sensed that the family's cheerful group dinners sometimes felt staged, as though everyone was performing harmony for the audience rather than living it. Behind the scenes, Meri was reevaluating her faith, while Christine struggled with feelings of neglect and jealousy, powerful undercurrents that would eventually pull them apart. When Meri's interview dropped, social media erupted. On Reddit threads and Facebook fan groups, longtime viewers posted side-by-side video clips to show how Meri's calm explanation lined up with years of on-screen microtensions. Comments ranged from sympathetic to stunned. "Meri deserves peace," wrote one fan. "She's carried the emotional weight of that family for decades." Another user noted, "Christine always seems sweet, but you can tell Meri's been holding a lot back." TikTok creators dissected every word, praising Meri's choice to avoid public mudslinging and framing her boundary as an act of empowerment. Even entertainment outlets like People and Us Weekly picked up the story, highlighting Meri's use of the word unsafe as a powerful indicator of emotional trauma. Podcasters debated whether Christine's sunny public persona masked a more complicated private dynamic. The consensus? Meri's revelation didn't just confirm what many suspected, it reframed the entire Sister Wives narrative. To understand why Meri's boundary feels so resolute, it helps to revisit her unique place in the Brown family. As the first wife, she carried the responsibility of setting a tone for every new addition to the household. Her natural inclination toward structure and privacy often clashed with the fluid chaos of plural marriage. Friends outside the show described Meri as deeply loyal yet intensely private, a combination that made reality TV fame both ironic and difficult. When she lost faith in the religious foundation of the marriage, she quietly bore the isolation that followed. Rather than lashing out, she turned inward, focusing on personal growth and self-reflection. Meri's decision to remain after her spiritual shift reveals a resilience viewers sometimes mistake for passivity. She wasn't stuck, she was honoring commitments while redefining her identity. By the time she told the world that Christine would never again be part of her inner circle, Meri had already done years of emotional labor behind closed doors. Christine's charisma is undeniable. From her first appearances on Sister Wives, she projected warmth and humor, winning viewers with quick laughter and playful energy. But Christine has admitted to her own insecurities, moments of jealousy, resentment, and even cruelty when she felt overlooked. Her teasing comments about Meri's only child or potential pregnancy weren't just offhand jokes, they were flashes of deeper frustration. Fans who idolize Christine's post-Cody independence sometimes overlook those moments, but Meri's account brings them back into focus. After leaving Cody, Christine embraced her image as the triumphant escapee. Her social media presence and best-selling books celebrate freedom and new love, and her supporters cheer her on. Yet Meri's revelations remind us that public happiness doesn't erase private complexity. Christine, like anyone, contains multitudes, strength and tenderness alongside blind spots and missteps. Polygamy, especially as practiced in fundamentalist Mormon communities, demands emotional flexibility that few people can sustain. Multiple marriages, shared parenting, and intricate household politics create a minefield of potential resentments. Family systems psychologists note that in such arrangements, unresolved conflict often gets buried rather than addressed, leading to long-term rifts that can feel unfixable. Meri's need for clear boundaries clashed with a structure where boundaries were fluid by design. Christine's avoidance of confrontation is equally understandable. In a house where tension was constant, keeping the peace might have felt like survival. Meri's use of the word unsafe reflects what therapists call emotional unsafety, a state where a person anticipates criticism, betrayal, or dismissal. It's not about physical threat, it's about protecting the heart. By stepping back, Meri chose self-preservation over perpetual conflict, a choice mental health experts often encourage when reconciliation would only reopen wounds. What makes this story resonate far beyond reality television is how it mirrors universal themes. The challenge of maintaining individuality in a demanding family system. The courage to set boundaries. And the quiet heroism of choosing peace over spectacle. Meri's decision doesn't demonize Christine, instead, it humanizes them both. It shows that sometimes the healthiest relationship is no relationship at all. As the Browns continue to share updates, new relationships, fresh family gatherings, and their own evolving beliefs, viewers are left to wonder how these revelations will shape the next phase of their lives. Will Meri's openness inspire the others to speak with equal honesty? Will Christine's fans reconsider the narrative of perfect triumph? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain, the era of tidy reality TV illusions is over. Meri Brown's quiet strength and Christine Brown's undeniable charisma both captivate audiences, but their story ultimately speaks to something larger than ratings or tabloid headlines. It's about the power of personal truth, the courage to draw boundaries, and the recognition that not every relationship is meant to be repaired. In a culture that often rewards public reconciliation and punishes private withdrawal, Meri's choice to walk away stands as a radical act of self-care. Let's rewind to those long stretches when the cameras weren't rolling. Reality shows capture highlights, but life is built in quiet, ordinary moments. For the Brown family, those moments included school drop-offs, grocery runs, and late-night budget talks. Multiple insiders, neighbors, distant relatives, even former crew members have hinted that these everyday logistics were far more stressful than the audience realized. Meri, often managing her own work schedule while still appearing for filming, reportedly spent hours alone in her section of the house, finding solace in books and journaling. Christine, in contrast, filled her days with bustling kid activities, creating a lively household that masked exhaustion. Imagine the constant emotional juggling, sharing a husband, managing overlapping childcare, and fielding producers' last-minute requests for just one more shot. No wonder small disagreements quietly calcified into long-term tension. Money was another undercurrent. While TLC provided income, the family also juggled private business ventures, from jewelry lines to real estate investments. Fans who followed tax records noticed periodic financial strain, late property payments, shifting LLCs, and complicated joint ownership of the massive Coyote Pass land in Arizona. Meri, cautious and structured, preferred clear budgeting and tidy records. Christine leaned toward big, enthusiastic projects that sometimes ran over budget. Neither approach was wrong, but the clash of styles may have seeded further conflict. Financial experts point out that money stress can erode even strong relationships. In a plural marriage, it's a pressure cooker. The Brown kids, more than a dozen between the wives, often found themselves mediating or absorbing their mother's moods. Interviews with grown children hint at the emotional load of living in a family where alliances subtly shifted week to week. Some kids gravitated toward Christine's upbeat gatherings, others found comfort in Meri's quieter steadiness. Those preferences sometimes sparked whispers of favoritism, adding another layer to the adult tensions. Family therapists call this triangulation, where children become unwitting go-betweens, amplifying stress for everyone involved. Meri's slow drift from the family's religious roots wasn't a single dramatic break, it was a gradual unfolding. She read outside literature, questioned long-held doctrines, and quietly skipped certain church meetings. For members of fundamentalist offshoots of Mormonism, that kind of questioning can feel like betrayal. Christine, still publicly aligned with the faith for years, may have felt torn between loyalty to tradition and private doubts of her own. Religious scholars explain that leaving a tight-knit spiritual community often triggers collective shunning, where the group closes ranks to protect itself. Meri's word unsafe echoes that very dynamic. When belief systems diverge, relationships can suddenly feel fragile, even dangerous. Both women have had to balance private healing with public storytelling. Christine wrote a memoir, Meri gives carefully chosen interviews. Each medium invites scrutiny and, inevitably, fan polarization. One tweet summed it up: Team Christine or Team Meri? How about team both surviving a wild situation? That sentiment captures what many viewers feel once they hear the full context. Reality TV rewards conflict, but real life demands compassion. Meri's decision to draw a firm line is a textbook case in boundary setting. Therapists often describe 3 steps: recognize the harm, communicate the limit, and hold it consistently. Meri has done all 3, without cruelty, without gossip, simply stating, "This isn't healthy for me." For audiences who've struggled with toxic friendships or complicated relatives, her stance resonates as both brave and instructive. Christine's journey, too, offers lessons: the courage to leave a marriage that no longer nurtures you, the willingness to start over publicly, and the challenge of owning both triumphs and mistakes. Could there ever be a soft reconciliation? Family systems experts say it's possible if both parties embrace genuine accountability. That would mean Christine openly acknowledging past jabs and Meri extending cautious trust. But as Meri herself said, too much water under the bridge may make that unlikely. Instead, the healthier path might be a respectful distance, cordial encounters at family weddings or graduations, without the pressure of forced friendship. Why does this story captivate millions? Because it mirrors the messy truths of our own lives. Most of us know what it's like to outgrow a friendship, to struggle with family expectations, or to navigate faith transitions. Viewers project their experiences onto Meri and Christine, finding validation or warning signs. That's why discussion boards stay busy long after episodes air. This isn't just their drama, it's a lens for ours. If you're scripting the full video, consider pacing these insights with archival show clips of key moments, eye rolls, awkward dinners, short fan tweet screenshots, a few quiet music breaks to let emotional points land. Encourage your audience to comment with their own boundary stories. People love sharing how they handled tough relationships. Close with a reflective note. Sometimes real strength is not in grand reconciliations, but in quietly walking away. Sometimes the bravest move isn't a dramatic confrontation, it's quietly choosing peace. Meri's decision to step back from Christine wasn't about revenge or bitterness, it was about self-respect. After years of shared history, she recognized that the relationship no longer brought growth or safety, and she set a boundary. Christine's path tells its own story of courage. She faced the end of a marriage in the public eye, embraced